All right, what's up, guys? In today's video, we will be discussing mind-muscle connection. Now, mind-muscle connection is important for every level of lifter, from beginner to advanced. However, if you are a beginner, this is ultra important because if you're a beginner and you aren't familiar with mind-muscle connection, you will be able, if you learn about how to do mind-muscle connection, you will greatly expedite your results because a lot of beginners don't really understand what mind-muscle connection is. A lot of beginners don't really realize what they're doing wrong. So let's get into it. All right. So what is mind muscle connection? Mind muscle connection is the ability to adequately contract or fill the muscle you're training when you're lifting. So when you're doing exercises, all exercises, with the exception of compound lifts, and compound lifts are exercises that are being trained with the intention of using or growing multiple muscle groups. So an example of a compound exercise would be a bench press because the bench press primarily targets your chest, shoulders, and triceps. It secondarily targets your lats and your traps and your rear delts. Okay, but when people would train barbell bench press, they're primarily doing it to grow a bigger chest, or if you're doing a close rep, doing it to grow bigger triceps. Okay, you have your squats. It trains pretty much every muscle in your lower body. All right, now the problem is when people train, especially beginners, when they train, they just lift. They just lift without putting emphasis on feeling or contracting. And by contracting, I just mean properly engaging the muscle they're trying to train when they train. So let's say you're training triceps, okay? When you're doing V grip tricep pushdowns or any sort of tricep pushdown, while tricep pushdowns target your tricep and your shoulder, the purpose of doing a tricep pushdown is to get stronger triceps. So you really want to isolate and contract your tricep in order to get bigger and stronger triceps. Because if you want to get big, while it does train shoulders, if you want to get bigger, stronger shoulders, there is way more exercises that you can do to isolate your shoulders in order to get bigger, stronger shoulders, right? Like if you want stronger shoulders to be more effective and efficient, to do shoulder press or side lateral raises, not V grip pushdown. Okay, so you want to learn how to properly contract, feel, isolate every muscle you train in order to grow. Okay, if you do this, it will greatly increase the rate at which you build muscle. All right, so I built muscle pretty fast when I first started in 2017, and I attribute a lot of this to you know familiarizing myself with mind muscle connection, properly contracting every single muscle, properly contracting the muscle you train when doing a specific exercise. So, a good example would be bicep. Everyone can easily understand how to use mind muscle connection when training biceps, but it gets a little harder when you do tricep and shoulder gets involved. It gets harder to isolate the shoulder, or excuse me, it gets harder to isolate the tricep when you're doing shoulder, when you're doing a V grip pushdown because shoulder comes into play. And it gets even harder when you're doing an exercise like the barbell bench press or dumbbell bench press when multiple movements or multiple muscles are coming into play. Okay, so you really want to be able to feel the muscle you're training when training it. Okay, so if you don't know how to do this, I recommend, literally, this is what I did. Watch videos on how to properly contract every muscle. There's tens of thousands of videos out on YouTube. I highly, highly recommend watching videos from professional bodybuilders, IFBB pros, guys who competed in Mr. Olympia. They've been doing this stuff for years. They're at the top of the bodybuilding food chain. So if you want to learn how to properly train, I highly recommend watching IFBB pro bodybuilders on YouTube. Um, because a lot of YouTube comment warriors will say, "Oh, well, that shoulder press or that rep you were doing was a half rep." No, that's not true at all. If the IFBB pro bodybuilders doing it, is it wrong? If they're the biggest men in the world, if they have the nicest, most aesthetic bodies in the world, absolutely not. They just learn how to properly contract every single muscle, and that's why reps look like half reps, even though they're full reps. They're doing it perfectly. All right. And so, a good example of mind muscle connection is your lats. For a beginner, your lats are one of the hardest muscles to learn how to properly contract, okay? And that's primarily because you can't see your lats when you're training them. You know, you can see your shoulders, tricep, chest, quads when you're training them, but you can your lats to an extent, but it's very hard to see your lats when you're training it. So I highly encourage everyone to learn, especially beginners, to learn how to properly contract your lats. This is most likely going to require you to lower the weight you're using. It's going to require you to leave your ego at the door. So yeah, if you're a beginner or if you're an intermediate novice and you're struggling with growing certain muscles, mind muscle connection, learn how to properly contract your muscles. I mean, I literally attribute this to why I got jacked in 16 months. And if you do this, I guarantee you, your muscle will grow substantially faster, um, given that you're eating adequate amounts of protein and given that you're eating in a caloric surplus. And that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. I also offer one-on-one coaching, how to become a hybrid athlete, how to become a bodybuilder, how to get shredded, how to bulk, how to run, all that good stuff, how to run and lift concurrently. If you're interested, links in the bio. That's all I got for today, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.